Look at this.
Yeah.
That's it.
We love our Skechers.
Yeah. The fun ones now, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I got, Skechers slip-ons.
Slip-ons,
It's great.
and
You don't have to worry about tying them.
A lot of them are. Are machine washable.
Yeah.
Throw them in the
Yeah,
water.
They're here to
I go to the Skechers outlet on Irving Park because I get one half off.
half off. Yeah, that's what I buy.
I tend to get like 2 pairs. They're expensive.
Mhm.
Like I'll be able to get 2 pairs for like $50 each
Yeah.
that way.
Oh.
Because there's usually, they're $60 to $80 a pair.
400.
Or more.
Where's the one on Irving Park?
Dunning Square. It's like
Oh, okay.
not there. Is it
There's
near
one
Gate?
in Downers Grove, right on
There is, yeah.
and then they just opened them up one in Oswego, so that's the one I go to now.
There you
It's
go.
right by my daughter, so that's
Yeah, I go to the
yeah, there's
one in
one on Hillside
Hillside.
too, on Man.
Oh, Manheim and like 290,
Yeah,
that big shopping
yeah.
center. Oh, that's close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm myself, like I just took out my winter and fall shoes. I put my summer shoes away, but my one favorite pair of blue shoes, they're starting to maybe for
wear?
Yeah, for next spring, and so I might have to get.
They last a long time.
Which is
They do.
good,
Yeah, they really do.
but they're worth it because if your feet
Because
don't
that's what I
hurt,
buy
it's
Jeff for his
comfortable. Yeah.
birthday.
You buy what
I buy Jeff a new pair of Skechers for his birthday
every year?
every year.
Oh, nice.
And the ones that I bought him last year, they really look good, but they break down.
Yeah.
They do
You know,
after a
like hers
while.
are broke down. They're not good for her feet when they
No.
break down
Once
that
they
much.
break down, because there's
Yeah.
no support then.
Yeah.
Santa Claus will come early for you, okay?
Okay, Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus,
There
yeah.
you go.
I'll write him a note.
This is
Santa Claus.
See.
is here.
Bye.
Hi, girl. Busy?
Oh. We just got through cleaned out that room.
Yeah.
We got bags downstairs. Did you notice there's more out there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
somebody
lady
dropped
just
a bunch
it
of
off
stuff
that I was
off.
pulling in.
Yeah, I saw that out there.
We can't keep up with it.
There's St. Paul bags down there.
Yes.
All right,
Oh, no, I took them.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Is that all there was?
Oh,
I
no,
thought there
are
was more,
right,
yeah.
You can take those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying
I
to.
usually check every Wednesday.
Mhm. Is Valentina home now?
Yes.
Yesterday?
I picked her up last night, yeah, and I took her to school today, so, and then I forgot, I checked, she has, it's like an add-on class, it's mini mathematician, so she has an extra hour today, so Renee
That's
just texted
okay.
me, he's like, do you think she's gonna be okay? It's gonna be a long day.
She'll
coming
accept it.
back." So,
Okay, I don't think we expect anybody else, right?
I would not think so.
And who else? No, I think everyone who's here is here.
Mhm.
Jetty said she was gonna try and make it.
I was gonna say, how's she been? I was like, does she plan on coming?
She doesn't have a car of her own anymore, so her grandson
Shares
lets her use a rental car that she has a
Oh,
couple days a week, so. Okay, so I'll start with a prayer. Good and gracious God, guide and lead us to be good shepherds. Lord, help us to study and apply your word to our lives each day. Thank you for your tender mercy and love, ever leading us onward. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Judy has volunteered to read. Well, I'll start out. I gotta start out.
yeah.
Discipleship, a new preparedness. Focus question. If the world were to end tomorrow, would you be prepared? Word of life. And he said, beware that you are not led astray, for many will come in my name and say, I am he, and the time is near. Do no good after them. So Judy, would you please read?
I certainly.
21, is it?
Yes, verses 5 through 19. One day people were standing around talking about the temple, remarking how beautiful it was, the splendor of its stonework and memorial gifts. Jesus said, "All this you're admiring so much. The time is coming when every stone in that building will end up in a heap of rubble." They asked him, "Teacher, when is this going to happen? What clue will we get that it's about to take place?" He said, "Watch out for the doomsday deceivers. Many leaders are going to show up with forged identities claiming I'm the one, or the end is near. Don't fall for any of that. When you hear of wars and uprisings, keep your head and don't panic. This is routine history and no sign of the end." He went on, "Nation will fight nation and ruler fight ruler over and over. Huge earthquakes will occur in various places. There will be famines. You'll think at times the very sky is falling. But before any of this happens, they'll arrest you, hunt you down, and drag you to court and jail. It will go from bad to worse. Dog eat dog. Everyone at your throat because you carry my name. You'll end up on the witness stand called to testify. Make up your mind right now not to worry about it. I'll give you the words of the wisdom that will reduce all your accusers to stammers and stutters. You'll even be turned in by parents, brothers, relatives, and friends. Some of you will be killed. There's no telling who will hate you because of me. Even so, every detail of your body and soul, even the hairs on your head, is in my care. Nothing of you will be lost. Staying with it, that's what is required. Stay with it to the end. You won't be sorry, you'll be saved.
Thank you. Okay. Lindsay, could you please read the first two paragraphs and questions 1, 2, 3?
Yes. This passage is considered part of the apocalyptic literature, writings about the end of time of the Bible, and describes God's final judgment and redemption. It is part of a larger section. This section we just read, Luke 21, 5-38, which focuses on the end of time. Parallels can be found in Mark 13 and Matthew 24, 1-44, which I do have tabbed if you want to read it. If you have time, read through each section and make comparisons. I read both of them, they're very similar. Most people do not spend time pondering if, when, and how the end of the earth might come to pass. Thus, it may be uncomfortable and unsettling to hear Jesus devote precious time and energy to prepare his disciples. How much time this week did you spend reflecting on the end of time? I didn't think about it until I was watching a show called Fallout, which is actually based off of a video game. And the premise of that game is like, I guess in 2277, so 2277, there's, atomic bombs that drop. And in preparation for that, people had built these vaults underground and were living underground. And then the game takes place a couple hundred years after that. So there's very little on the surface, which is, what's left of Earth. And then the people that were in these vaults, now it's been a generation or two. So there's now people who've never even seen the surface, and they've been in this vault their whole lives. So yeah, it's a very interesting show. I haven't played the game. So yeah, that obviously got me thinking about, especially because there's a year on it. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, it's 2025, and, would that be something that would or could happen? And what I feel like every few years you're hearing different things about the final days, and there's so many more shows and movies being made about a lot of that. Or I don't know if you guys have heard of The Walking Dead. That was a show years ago. Zombies are supposed to come be banning them.
Excuse me.
So a lot of different things. I think a lot of it hypothetical. I don't, nothing anyone can predict, right?
Right.
We don't know. And why do you suspect we are not more concerned about this. Well, I think as bad as it sounds, I'm like, well, it's not gonna be in my lifetime. I think when watching shows and movies like that, I do think about it, but I think, like knowing my everyday, day-to-day life, I don't think about it because I'm like, well, kind of out of our control. I mean, we don't know when it's gonna come, if it's gonna come, and it still sounds like something very far away, even if it was 2277. I'm like, I do think about future generations, like, what's life going to be like for them? Are there things we're doing now that are really bad or really good that are going to carry, into the next few hundred years and such? But that's all I have for that. So I pass it on to Sue. Yes.
Are we going this way?
Yeah.
We're going to say,
Okay.
yeah, I think so.
Well, how much time this week did you spend reflecting on the end of time? Well, I wasn't spending a lot of reflecting on the end of time, but how have you heard about the end of time? Well, in the Bible, Revelation, and there's a lot of these things even about talking about the temple and the stones and the things that are going to happen in Jesus' time while he's still on earth. All these things are going to take place before he dies on the cross, and then he'll be resurrected and that stuff. And he is a living Christ, and it says all these things are going to happen in the Bible. There's going to be false prophets that are going to be here on the earth. You're going to see wars. You're going to see people, what's going on in the real world all around us, about the earthquakes and about the storms and about war and all this other stuff. But I put it in God's hands. He's in control. And it says to be observant of what's going on in the worldly changes, but not to become overcome by it, but also to be ready for when Christ comes, and to be observant of what's around us. And you can still continue doing God's work. And why do you suspect we are not more concerned about this? That it's in God's time. It can be here, it could be now, it could be whatever, but I trust God to be in control, and it will happen. And it's in God's hands and in Jesus's hand, because we will not really know the true coming, but there will be signs of the darkness and the lightness and different things that will happen. So I will pass it on to you, Lauren.
Thank you. How much time this week did I spend reflecting on the end of time? None, quite honestly. I don't. But I think about the end of time, like, so number two, what have I heard about the end of time? I see it more as the end of life as we know it, more than the end of time. And I think this happens little by little, more than like a big change, although it can be a big change. I look at the pandemic and how that was a big upheaval at first, but then it was over. Look at it's been five years already. It'll be 6 years, since it started. Think about like now, like the current political administration and how, like, moving forward, what's going to change, how things are, going to be different moving forward. Even going back to, let's say, Watergate, and how, to me, Watergate opened people's eyes that, oh, a president can be corrupt. Like, I think a lot of people like trusted. I think that was the beginning of the end of the general population trusting, just having blind trust in the government, and that the government is, as a whole, was going to take care of everybody. That's my personal opinion. Time is a construct. There's actually no such thing as time. That is, and what I mean by that, and I had to look it up to explain it. Our methods of measuring and organizing time, such as a 60-minute hour, a 24-hour day, and calendars, those are human-made agreements.
Mhm.
You think about it.
Mhm.
Just think about it. Just a few weeks ago, we all agree that we're going to set our clocks back an hour. The universe has nothing to do with, you know what I mean? And that every 4 years, we're going to have one more day. You know what I'm saying? Like it's time is a construct. The way we measure time, clock time, is a construct.
Yeah.
Those are not inherent properties of the universe. And And there have been other ways of measuring time. Apparently there was, in France, they had a decimal time that failed. I don't know when it was. And I think about like, the months of July and August were added by Julius Caesar and Caesar Augustus. They just added some months.
Cause it used to be 10 months, right?
It was 10,
And it was 28 days every month.
and
That's a
28 days,
That's a lunar
like a
cycle,
there's
28 days,
lunar
and women
calendars.
menstrual cycle,
And
28 days.
when you
That's
have a
nature.
28-day cycle, 28-day month, there's 13 months with 12 days left over, which happen to be at the end of the year. So 12 days of Christmas.
Ah.
So time is made up.
And why did they change all that? I want to know. To me, that sounded much
white
easier.
men in power, basically. But anyway, so I don't think about the end of time. I think about the end of life as we know it. So why do I suspect we are not more concerned about this? Well, we love to live in denial. We like to think that things are always just going to be a certain way. And we tend to react rather than respond. We tend to not be prepared. We tend to just wait until the crap hits the fan, and then it's like, oh, what are we gonna do? So I pass it to you, Jan.
I'm not really with you. So I'm going to pass it on to my friend.
Thank you. How much time this week did you spend reflecting on the end of time? Well, I think I've thought about the end of my time, but not the end of the world's time. So I would probably have to say no on that. What have you heard about the end of time? Not much. And why do you suspect we are not more concerned about this? Because we have no control over it. We don't know when it's going to come. And I pass it on to Judy.
Thank you. Before I answer these questions, does anybody remember a book series? I think it might have been written by some fundamentalist Christian guy. It was about the rapture, and it took place in the Chicago suburbs. I read one or two.
Did you try to Google it?
No, I didn't try to Google it yet, but all right.
Anyway, go ahead.
I read at least one of the novels. Of course, it must have been a long time ago. But how much time this week did you spend reflecting on the end of time? A big fat 0. What have I heard about the end of time? Well, in scientific terms, it's the concept of when the universe might cease to exist. But the religious or cultural beliefs are about a final judgment and a new beginning.
New beginning?
A new beginning. It marks the end of the current world order and the beginning of a new reality. In Christianity, this includes the second coming of Christ, the rapture. And every time I think of the rapture, it's like I think of people on a bus and all of a sudden some people just disappear. They're just gone. Apparently they've been raptured.
They just dissolve in thin air.
I guess, all of a sudden people they just vanish.
Was it Left Behind?
Yes. I think
Yeah,
that-
yes.
I remember that.
I didn't read it. Yeah, my
Okay.
aunt got me a couple of. I didn't read them though. It was good. Is it good though? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess at the time I thought it was good.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, it was,
Yeah, the faithful instantly vanish. Yeah.
it's just the people that were left on earth after the rapture.
Yeah, I
what they
read those.
had to do
I
to
remember that.
survive, and I believe I think there was some charismatic guy who was really pretty evil. I can't remember. I think he was from Romania or in Romania. I don't know. But all right. Yeah, Left Behind. There you go. All right. Let's see. Rapture and the tribulation, a final judgment, and the creation of a new heaven and earth. in Islam, it includes the Last Judgment and a series of signs that precede it. In Hinduism, the world is regenerated and a new cycle begins. So there seems to be a set theme. And Buddhism, end times signify a spiritual transformation or a period when Buddha's teachings are forgotten before the next era. All right. Why do you suspect we are not more concerned about this? I think it's just too abstract of a concept.
Yeah.
I mean, how would your life be if all you did was constantly worry about the end of time? I mean, you know.
You'd end up on a street corner with a sign. The
Right,
end is,
yeah,
the end is
really.
near.
Yeah.
Repent.
Or you ever see those doomsday preppers? You ever see those people who
Yeah.
Yes.
can and
Yeah.
Yeah.
all the food?
Right,
and
they
they're
have
Yeah.
about 10
underground
years of
bunkers.
supply worth of.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen commercials for stuff that lasts 20 years. Food that
Yeah,
lasts
on
20
Facebook
years.
and Instagram, yeah.
Yeah,
buckets.
Patriot something.
For
they-
patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ask me why I get
preservatives
that.
in
there.
If at the end of time, there will be no more people.
Yeah, so
Well,
how long are you gonna expect to
and
live in your
I'm
basement?
just
Yeah.
assuming I'm not gonna be around for the
Yeah.
end of time. So
Yeah.
why should I?
Well, I know I had a sister-in-law that collected water and all the other stuff
Mhm.
because she said, oh, the end of time. And then she was
Yeah.
telling that to other people too. And guess what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was telling all these other
Well,
people,
If it's
beware
the end
and
of time,
prepare.
why would you preserve water and that kind of stuff? It
Yeah.
could be the end of
You're
time.
gone, you're gone, you're not
There-
gonna
that's
live
it.
any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
But then people went back to her and said, you said this and guess what? It never happened. It's like,
Well, that's the same thing with wife and kids. Everybody
You
tried to prepare
started,
for
yeah.
that.
right, yeah. So,
Yes, so
Okay.
Sue,
You started with Lindsay, right? So,
yeah,
Sue, can
Okay.
you read the next
Of
paragraph
course.
and 4 and 5?
yeah. In the setting for this passage is a temple in Jerusalem. The temple has been destroyed in 587 BC by the Babylonians who took the Jews to live in exile. During the exile, the Jews dreamed of returning to the land promised their ancestors and rebuilding the temple. In 538 BC, under the decree of Cyrus, the Jews were allowed to return. On their return, a high priority was to rebuild the temple. Thus, for Jesus to prophesy about the destruction of the temple would have stirred a strong reaction. In fact, the Romans would destroy the temple in AD 70. What do you know about the temple? And what did the temple represent to the people? I don't know a lot about the temple, but I'm learning from the other Bible study some things about the temple that, that there were two parts separated in holy parts, different where they worship certain things, and the temple was, of different colors and that stuff. And what did the temple represent to the people? Authority and power were different things where they did certain things. I pass it on to Lauren.
Thank you. What do I know about the temple? It wasn't as grand as the first one. I think we talked about that last week, I believe. The temple had been rebuilt and then what did the temple represent to the people? It's where God dwelled. I believe that's the only place he dwelled.
Mhm.
I pass it to you, Jen.
I like what have been said from the African
Thank you
community.
so much.
You're welcome.
What do you know about the temple? I don't know nothing
I
about it.
don't know.
So I'm not even gonna ask question 5 because I don't know what the temple represents, because I don't know anything about the temple. So pass it on to you,
thank
Judy.
you. Well, the original temple was destroyed and a second temple was built on the Temple Mount. Right now, there's there's a mosque there and there's the rock of the dome or something there. Plus, the western wall is the only thing left from the second temple.
Because the
So-
Romans destroyed it. that
Right,
second
yeah.
temple. Yeah.
So that's the only thing left.
Was it a place of worship?
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a significant site of, for question 5, it was a significant site of prayer for the Jews, and like Lauren said, that's where God was.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big part of Jewish life, was the temple.
Mhm.
You know, so now that the Temple Mount is Islam, Christianity, and Jews, it's very important to all 3 religions. And I think the Jews still pray, I wonder if the Western Wall is the same thing as the Wailing Wall.
I feel like it is.
Yeah,
Let's see. Look it up.
so I pass it on to you, Lindsay.
All right, I didn't know anything about it and I looked it up and yeah, similar to what Judy said. So I looked up in AI mode. So the main things, the Temple of Jerusalem was a central place of worship for the Jewish people for centuries. And yeah, there was two successive temples built. So the first one was Solomon's temple. And it says it was built by King Solomon on Mount Moriah, the same site where Abraham was to sacrifice Isaac. So that was 957 BCE. It stood for about 410 years. It was the center of Jewish life. I'm just skimming through and reading bits and pieces. Yeah, it was served as a dwelling place for God's presence on earth and the sole location for sacrifices and rituals. It housed the Ark of the Covenant in its innermost sanctuary, the Holy of Holies. It was destroyed by the Babylonians in 587. The Ark of the Covenant was lost. The second temple was Herod's temple in 516 BCE. It was expanded. It was a great expansive renovation project. And then that was destroyed in 70 CE. And then, like Judy said, the Mount today, the Western Wall, it says the temple remains a site of immense spiritual and political significance for Jews, Muslims, and Christians. And it gives, it has a bullet point for the Western Wall, Dome of the Rock.
Yeah,
I
the rock.
don't know if I'm saying it right. Al-Aqsa Mosque.
I think it could be.
AQSA, Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Could be, yeah.
And yeah, the Temple Mount is currently administered by the Jerusalem Islamic Waqf, while Israel maintains security control. Non-Muslim visitors have restricted access hours in areas. So, it's a little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. I was like, I need to look this up.
Yeah.
And yeah, just to add on to what you guys said, I just added that was sacred, and what it represented for them. And I passed on to Sue S.
Okay, and I started, so.
Okay.
And the Western Wall is the same as the Wailing Wall.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so I'll read the next section. Jesus is concerned about more than a building. He moves beyond the destruction of the temple to discuss the end of all time. All time is included under God's reign, even the end of time. Jesus warns his followers to be observant in the present time so they might be prepared for God's judgment. They are to watch for signs of the end of time, including 3 significant categories. People who will falsely come in the name of Jesus. There will be wars, insurrections, and the earth will experience earthquakes, famines, and plagues. Okay, if disciples are too preoccupied, then they will miss these signs and not be prepared. Which of these signs have you witnessed in your lifetime? And have you ever seen signs and wondered if the end of time is drawing near? All right, well, which of these signs have I witnessed? All of them. We see, there are people who falsely come in the name of Jesus. There are wars and insurrections. There are, earthquakes and famines and plagues. All of these things are happening. And he even says in the reading in verse 10, nation will fight nation and ruler fight ruler over and over. This is, huge earthquakes. Yeah. So, and he says, make up your mind right now not to worry about it. Stay with it till the end. have I ever seen signs and wondered if the end of time was drawing near? Again, yes, definitely. But again, the way I perceive time is not about time. It's about the end of life as I know it and change, like major upheaval where myself and my family and everybody I know might be suffering greatly. That to me is what end of time means. So I pass it to you, Jan.
I like it with flowing from the effort and the foot.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
Which of these signs have you witnessed in your lifetime? Well, there's all of them really, but I don't know if I've witnessed them. I've seen of them and I've heard of them, but I don't know. An earthquake I witnessed because I was at my mother's in California one time when there was a slight one. So I felt the tremble. But otherwise I don't know, I haven't witnessed any of them, but I've heard of them and I've seen them. Have you ever seen signs and wondered if the end of time was drawing near? Yeah, I think so. When you see all these wars going on in floods and just something sticks on my mind that the world is going to end in either fire or water.
Mm.
I think I've seen that or heard that somewhere.
Mhm.
And when I see all these floods, I wonder if that's really coming.
Mm.
So I pass it on to Judy.
Thank you. Which of these signs have you witnessed in your lifetime? All right. Obviously, the people who will falsely come in the name of Jesus. Sometimes these televangelists, and there's other people, it. I've heard about wars. I've seen pictures on the news about wars, insurrections. January 6th, an insurrection. I suppose you could look at the COVID pandemic as a way, in a
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
That's
You
true.
know,
Yeah.
there have been famines in Africa. Famines in Gaza now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's. Have you ever seen signs and wondered if the end of time was drawing near? I can believe the people of Gaza might think the end is coming near.
For
I
them.
mean, for them,
Yeah.
or somebody that lived through a bad hurricane. At the time, you think you're going to die. Or a tornado, or or people that live like I lived during the Cold War. I remember when I was a kid in school, we were shown movies about nuclear holocaust and stuff,
Things that happened, that's right.
and like,
Great way to, that's a way to traumatize the
I
kid.
mean,
Yeah.
it's just,
Jeez.
and that going under your desk with your hand over your head
Oh my
isn't gonna
God.
do
That's
it.
true, I remember that,
But as a
Wow.
kid, you know that.
Yeah.
Now they have active shooter drills.
Yeah, and that too.
Yeah.
Scary.
We never
Super
had to
scary.
go through that, but
Like every generation
Right,
seemed to have
something,
Some
but
fear they want to
Yeah.
instill.
I think of all the, Valentina is probably gonna have to go through that. at some
Yeah,
point,
I don't wanna think about it. It's like,
yeah,
this world is.
and I never thought about that nuclear, what we learned as children until now, and I'm thinking, what the heck was happening to? If an atomic bomb drops, we're
Yeah.
gone. It's
That's
like,
true.
we're gone.
Yeah, right.
But as a kid, you really thought that was gonna.
That
and
could
at the
happen, that's
time,
right.
Yeah.
We didn't know
Right.
What they know
What
today,
to
that's
do.
true.
either, so. All right, I pass it on to you, Lindsay.
Yeah, I agree with all that's been said. Yeah, I sometimes wonder if and when well, is it the end? But again, like, there's always been wars and plagues and so, these things have always been happening. So it's like, yeah, when is it really when, that's all I have for this one. I passed on to Sue.
I have nothing else to share, so I pass it on.
Yep, and I read that.
Jen, you don't want to read?
No,
Okay.
Okay.
Before the end of time occurs, Jesus warns his disciples about their personal struggles. Followers of Jesus will be arrested, persecuted, imprisoned, and hated. Some of the people hating his followers will be their own family members and friends. I'll read that again. Some of the people hating his followers
what?
will be their own family members and friends. Those attacked will be given the opportunity to testify, but not to worry. Jesus personally will prepare the words for each person to speak. Jesus is quite serious about his warnings. He does not want followers to be caught off guard and ill prepared. What might have been the response of the listeners? I think they were probably fearful, but trusting in God. And what is the message for us today? Always be prepared. But I don't know if being prepared for the end of the time is worth it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So I pass it on to Judy.
Oh, thank you.
It's toughy.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the disciples are sort of like looking at each other, thinking,
Yeah.
wait a minute. I don't want to be arrested, persecuted, I mean, Jesus was telling them the truth, he wanted them to know what might happen, but,
Maybe Jesus already knew what was going
well, he probably did,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm sure they were sort of stunned, I think, I would be if I heard that. Maybe I'd be
Especially coming
thinking,
from him.
right, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, do I really want to be a disciple now? I don't know, And what is the message for us today? Be as prepared as you can be, but trust that God's gonna take care of you. Yes. So I pass it on to you. See.
Yeah, I think those that heard him were fearful and they probably had tons of questions, what to do next, how do I prepare? Can I be prepared? And there probably were also people that rejected his message too and didn't believe him. As always, there were those who didn't believe. So I think there were people that just rejected that whole premise probably, and yeah, I think the message for us is to not get too preoccupied with any one particular thing or the wrong things. Like you said, is it worth it to really be so focused on certain things if anyway. So I guess, how do we use our time the most productively?
I don't know what
Positively.
it's been.
And that's all I have, and I pass it to Sue.
I agree with what's been said, so I'll pass it on to Lauren.
All right, yeah, well, audio is still working.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to the video. I tried to switch.
Yeah.
I don't know. So we can be heard apparently. Anyway, let's see. What might have been the response of the listeners? Curiosity and wonder and maybe a little fear. Like what are we getting ourselves into? And what is the message for us today? Not to worry about the future, focus on right now. It's the only thing we have. That's to you, Jan.
I actually definitely from the president.
And I started. So Judy, could you
Okay,
please read the
Lisa.
first paragraph on the
Certainly
second
will.
page?
When Hurricane Katrina was heading to the Gulf Coast area in 2005, warnings were issued widely and strongly, evacuate. Meteorologists were able to detect the hurricane and issue clear statements of warning. Fortunately, over 1 million people safely evacuated their homes and were able to get out of harm's way. Others decided to stay to be with loved ones in the hospital or with their pets. Others chose to ignore warnings. Have you ever experienced warnings to leave a dangerous area? No. The only thing I can compare it to is if there's a tornado warning. And if I think that the weather is bad enough, then I will go down
Yeah.
to the basement, but I don't. That's the only thing I can. And I sort of answered question two, did I leave? Sometimes I go downstairs, sometimes I don't. So I pass it on to you.
The only thing I could maybe think of, yeah, there were a couple times, once up in Michigan at the campground, there was, I don't know if it was a tornado warning, it was a really severe wind and it was really big storm. And they asked those of us at the campground to, leave the trailers and go into like the bathroom, the shower house, 'cause it was, I don't think it's made out of brick, but it's obviously strong, like
Oh,
a trailer.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
My dad didn't. He was one of the people that's like, nope, staying in the trailer with the dog. The rest of us went. So there was like that. So yeah, I followed the instructions. And then I know one time at work at Home Depot when I worked in the distribution center, they had us go into like the bathroom just to shelter at, some kind of tornado warning or something. Yeah, I think I went to the place, yeah, I was supposed to be safe at, and we just waited and talked and tried to pass the time until we were given the clear to come out in both situations. And I passed on to Sue S.
Okay. Number one, have you ever experienced warnings to leave a dangerous area after the fact? Because they didn't give us the tornado warning till later after it already happened. But we didn't leave the house. We just went into a secure part of the house. I pass it on to you.
Yeah, I have not experienced things like this. The worst that ever happened that I can think of, George and I were coming home from a trip. We had gone on a fishing trip to Canada. We were gone for a week and driving home. So from Canada, Ontario, it was like, it was a 12-hour trip and it was torrential rain for 12 hours.
Ooh.
And it never let up. And George was driving. And at some point I was just like, I can't take this anymore. We need to just stop and get a hotel room. Because we still had we weren't in the car 12 hours. I think maybe it was 8 hours because
Yeah.
we had like a 12-hour drive. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And we stopped and we got a hotel. And we found out that there had been at some point on our route a tornado, like 3 miles from where we were driving.
Oh wow.
So that was the scariest thing I ever. I mean, at the time I didn't know. At the moment I didn't know. Anyway,
Where were you at again?
well, we were driving through. So we were coming from Ontario. We drove through Minnesota, and we were in Wisconsin. And so, I mean, obviously the weather pattern was just following us because we just never got out. It was just torrential downpour. It never let up. It was really like psychically, like, I couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't stand being in the car with the rain, with the wipers. I was like, we gotta stop. We just gotta stop. And he was pretty, he was like, yeah, we probably should stop because he was gonna keep going. I don't know how he even handled it because he was driving.
Whoa.
Well, it can't be.
It's how
like,
when it got bad.
it was like
Right.
the wipers
Even
were
when they're
going.
active,
Yeah,
when
fast,
it's like that.
That
yeah.
stuff didn't even help much. Well,
It really
It
did.
didn't.
yeah.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Not when it gets that bad.
Right.
So I pass it to you, Jan.
I remember the tornadoes drill in school.
That's right. We used to have those.
Yeah.
They would just go in the hall.
That's right. The tornado
Yeah.
drills all the time.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
too.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's going to do any good. So I have been lucky. happening the tornado or a hurricane. So that is good.
Okay.
Time.
Have you ever experienced warnings to leave a dangerous area? Yes. I live in a condo building, and when we hear the Glen Ellen sirens go off, we go down in the basement. And we always did that, and always fearful because if the power went out, we'd have to walk down 3 flights of stairs.
Yeah.
But luckily, one of the gentlemen that owned one of the condo buildings was on the fire department, and so we always had updates on what was going on, and then he was the one that told us when to go back upstairs. So, but that happened many, many times. So warning. And I pass it on to Judy.
I started, but before passing on to Lindsay, if that's another thing, the tornado, we'd be in the hallways with our hands over our head.
Yeah.
It's gonna stop a cement block. Well,
Yeah.
The good,
But of
but
course,
no,
we didn't, you know.
Right, yeah.
Really?
really?
It's up to you, Lindsay. Start.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The winds of Hurricane Katrina eventually became still. People relaxed and believed that they had survived the worst. That's when the levees broke open. There was no warning. The water came pouring into vulnerable neighborhoods, forcing people to climb to their attics and rooftops for protection. The hurricane had wiped out much of the communication system in the area, so it was nearly impossible to communicate the severity of the situation. People had prepared for a hurricane, but not the breach in the levees. In some areas, the water stayed for weeks, turning neighborhoods into lakes. Very slowly, the water receded, leaving unspeakable devastation. How do you prepare for that which is unexpected? After disaster, how does the Christian respond? Well, you can't prepare for the unexpected. That's why I call it unexpected. You didn't expect it. I mean, I think we prepare for, certain things in life, maybe we save money or we do things to try things. But at the end of the day, the unexpected is the unexpected. Christians, how do we respond? I think we try to help each other in need. I think about when Hurricane Katrina happened, there were a lot of efforts made to raise money, send supplies, there were telethons, there were all sorts of things, being done to try to, help people, with supplies, finances. So I think that's where Christians always try to show up. And I think we try to ask ourselves, what would Jesus do in these situations? How would he respond? And I heard something recently, like in church, it's not a political statement, it's a theological statement to help others, regardless of what your belief systems are. Christians, you see someone who needs help, you should see what you can do, and put those other things aside. So that's my answer, and I pass it to Sue S.
Okay, it says, how do you prepare for that which is expected? Well, we have an extra generator that we have in case the electric goes out for backup. For our camper also, because if this happens unexpectedly, at least you got that for backup. And after disaster, how we help by helping each other and praying and supporting each other. And I pass it on to you.
Yeah, how do I prepare for that which is unexpected? Well, like the people who are preppers, I mean, they have a point. It's like having some stores of supplies, water, food, shelter, first aid, things like that. So you can shelter in place. Or people who have something called a bug out bag, where you have like a 72-hour supply and a backpack of basic supplies if you have to leave. That makes sense. I think like some people take it to the extreme, like doomsday preppers and stuff like that. But of course, everything's always in a balance, right? So that's one way to prepare, physically, emotionally and mentally. Again, as the reading says, stay with it. You won't be sorry. You'll be saved. Make up your mind right now not to worry about it. Keep your head, basically. And then after disaster, how does the Christian respond to helping those who are most in need? I pass it to you, Jan.
Yeah. I don't know what to do. I have to trust in God. That is what I have to do.
Okay. This
Sure.
question, I don't like this question, but
No.
how do you prepare for that which is unexpected? You
Yeah.
don't expect it, why prepare for it? Although I've been forced to do it by my daughter, because I don't wear a coat very often.
Mhm.
I've been, have to have in my car a coat,
Yeah.
a bottle of water,
Mhm.
a granola bar, and a blanket, in case I get stuck in a snowstorm unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that's the only way I would prepare, and it's pretty obvious what a Christian would respond to.
Yeah.
Comfort them, help them, do whatever you can. And that's all I have to say, and I pass it on to Judy.
How do you prepare for that which is unexpected? You can't always, because you can't think of every conceivable
Right.
problem. But I do know people who keep copies of important papers in like a waterproof bag.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have all mine in a fireproof. bag.
Right, yeah, have, they have supplies ready for their pets in case they have to evacuate, where they have food, medication, vaccination records and stuff. Stuff like that you can do, because that can be useful in a bunch of different situations. And after disaster, how does the Christian respond? By doing everything you can to help people that have been impacted. Whether it's giving your time, money, donating food, helping, giving them a place to stay, whatever. And Lindsay started.
Okay, Sue, can you read the next two paragraphs,
Of
please?
course, Jesus is quite concerned about disciples being prepared and paying attention to the signs before the end of time. He knows that it is easy to become complacent and comfortable with life. At some point, life as we know it will end. God's judgment will come. Yet Jesus spoke these words over 2,000 years ago. The end has not come. Wars, earthquakes, and devastation have come and gone. Are you concerned about the end of time? I am, and I'm not. I'm concerned, but it's in God's hands, and whatever will be, will be. What signs would catch your attention? Looking around the world and seeing what's going on, and be observant of what's going on. And all these things in the Bible said it was going to happen, and what to look for and that stuff, and be conscious of it. Why would God choose to destroy this earth? Now, it's in his hands. Now, well, it could happen anytime. And if it's gonna be, it's gonna be. And I pass it on to you.
Thank you. Am I concerned about the end of time? Yes and no. And again, not the end of time, but life as I know it. I am concerned about the future. What signs would catch my attention? Well, political signs, which I feel, I'm watching, politics. And especially, well, I think to me, a big sign would be civil unrest, like regular civil unrest would be a definite sign. And that's not happening, really. And why would God choose to destroy this earth now? I don't think God would destroy the earth. God created this earth. To me, that's not even conceivable. I think we will destroy our civilization and life as we know it. So pass it to you, Jan.
I like to receive from the person.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mm.
You're welcome.
Okay, are you concerned about the end of time? No,
No,
it is what it is. That's my saying since many years ago when I got cancer. It is what it is. Deal with it. We have to do it.
Mm.
What signs would catch your attention? Probably disasters, war, flooding, whatever. And why would God choose to destroy this earth? I don't think he would. I agree with Lauren. I don't think he would. I really don't. I think we're going to destroy it ourselves. And I pass it on to Judy.
Okay, no, I'm not concerned about the end of time. I can't do anything to stop it. I mean, what signs will catch your attention? Well, how many centuries have we had wars, natural disasters and stuff, and nothing's happened yet. I suppose if you had like Lauren said, constant civil unrest.
Their economic collapse.
Right, yeah.
Like on a major level.
Yeah, or just constant like natural disasters, just one after the other. All right, I Googled why would God choose to destroy the earth? And it says, according to the Bible, God would destroy the earth due to humanity's wickedness and corruption. Well, if you look
It
around
would be
now,
destroyed already.
it should be gone by
Yeah.
now. But I don't think God would destroy the earth because I think humans would do it.
We'd beat him
before
to it.
God ever would.
Yeah.
So I pass it on to you, Lauren Lindsay.
Yeah, I agree with what's been shared about. I think it's something I think about from time to time, but again, I'm like, it's because it is out of our control, and it seems so out of reach, out of our lifetimes. So I think it's just like a time to time thought, or like I said, if I see a certain show or something that makes me think of it. And I don't know the signs. I mean, like we kind of talked about, all these things are kind of going on. So yeah, I think like maybe like what Judy said, it would have to be maybe the frequency, or like you said, it would have to get to a certain level, because to really be like, all right, we're at a certain threshold
No
here,
turning
or
back
whatever,
type situation.
And I agree with what's been shared, but sometimes I do wonder about like how there was the flood, and that was kind of God revitalizing the earth, like this end of time, would it be something again like that, where is it going to get flushed out and then start over again, and then
Purge.
sometimes I wonder about that. And I passed on to Sue S.
I have nothing more to add. I like what's been said and I agree, so I'll pass it on.
And I think, well, you read that.
Yes.
So I'll read next.
Yes.
right? Before the end of time, it will get rough for those who follow Jesus Christ. Disciples will be arrested, persecuted, and even hated. Instead of approaching this time with fear and trembling, disciples are to understand these events to be opportunities for witnessing about Jesus Christ. It may not feel like an opportunity, but that is how God sees it. Have you ever been persecuted or hated of your faith because of your faith in Jesus Christ? Describe that situation. No, I have not been persecuted or hated. How might a person witness to Jesus Christ in times of difficulty? By their actions, to me, it's more about my actual actions than what I say, although what I say is important, but to me, what I say is also an action, how I behave. And of course, giving credit to Jesus, because it's not by my, sinful human actions. It's through the example of Jesus that I, behave this way. So I pass it to you, Jan.
I'm going to pass.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
You're so nice to me today.
Yeah, well, like happening to me.
Because we're all God's people and we share
Happiness.
unconditional
Okay.
love.
Have you ever
Such a
been
change.
persecuted or hated because of your faith in Jesus Christ? No. Never. I can't think of anything. How might a person witness to Jesus Christ in times of difficulty? Have faith. You know, it's all in Jesus and God's hands. And he gets me through a lot of difficulties already. So I have faith. And I pass it on to Judy.
Okay, question number 8. Have you ever been persecuted or hated because of your faith in Jesus Christ? No. However, there are areas in other countries where Christians are being persecuted. Muslims are being persecuted in other areas. October 7th, Jews were, I mean, it isn't just Christians that are being persecuted. There are other,
Well, look at the mosques and
Oh,
that are
right.
being destroyed or hurt,
yeah.
because of it.
Or just think our country was founded by people who were escaping religious persecution in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have
true.
never personally been persecuted or hated, but it does exist in the world. And how might a person witness to Jesus Christ in times of difficulty? Act the way Jesus Christ would like you to act, pray, read the Bible. Always remember how Jesus wants you to live and try to do that. I pass it on to you, Lindsay.
Thank you. I personally haven't, experienced it, but yes, there are Christians in this world who have and continue to. Something that concerns me about our current society is I think, yes, we are sadly in a place in history where Christianity is kind of, not as popular, or we can't talk about it maybe in ways I think other religions are a little bit more free to. I think, I don't know, there's a lot of, standing up for Jewish people, there's a lot of standing up for Muslims, but I think Christians were kind of not necessarily being supported as much as those other bodies of faith in our society. And I'm not saying, I mean, yeah, like hate is hate, and I'm not saying it's right, no group should be experiencing hate. So, I understand, certain causes and things like that. So that is something that concerns me as a society, as a Christian. Because I feel like we're kind of becoming more and more of the minority in a way. And kind of tying in with question 9, witnessing to Christ in times of difficulty, I think standing firm in what we've read and what we know about the Bible and understanding Jesus. I don't know, someone I think about is like Charlie Kirk. He was someone who, there would be atheists who would debate him about the Bible, and he would just calmly, confidently say, well, look, this is in this book, it says this, in this book, Jesus said that, very factual, very calm, and having those discussions. And I think, we need to, how we prepare is, yeah, we keep reading the word and understanding it. And if and when we do get questioned, we can support it. And, I would love to be able to have those arguments, so, and I think what's been shared too is witness to Jesus, acting how he would act, being that example, making a good name for Christianity, I think, is what we need to continue to do, prove to people that, yeah, Christians are good, and, we are following the word and trying to be right in humanity. I pass on to Sue.
Okay, I have nothing to add. I agree with what's been said. Our actions and our role models in doing God's work is to continue to be strong and pray for all people. And follow Jesus as your role model. I pass it on to Lauren,
I read that.
Okay.
and it's 3:00.
Jan, you don't want to read, right?
No.
You looked at the clock. Should we stop with that one or continue on?
No, we're not.
The last one.
Up
Do
to
it our
everybody.
last one.
Do the next one?
I
Okay,
think we should.
Okay.
Yes,
never
like 5 minutes.
Jesus promises to fill his followers with the words and wisdom to speak. Don't worry about what you are to say. Wait upon the Spirit to fill you with the words and wisdom of Jesus. How does waiting and being prepared fit together? I'm not going to answer that. What might you do this week to prepare for the end of time? I first wrote nothing. And then I wrote physically nothing. Mentally, rely on God to get me through. I pass it on to Judy.
Okay, how does waiting and being prepared fit together? I don't know that it does.
Yeah, I couldn't get an answer for it.
I guess being prepared, you're prepared for something that may or may not happen. In a, you know. So I guess all you can do is try to be. Of course, it's hard to be prepared if you don't know what you're preparing for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I think I'm not gonna go there. What might you do this week to prepare for the end of time? Physically, nothing, but like Sue said, just try to live the way Jesus wants me to live and just trust that whatever happens is gonna see me through. And I pass it on to you, Lindsay.
Yeah, this question, the way I read 10 is like, well, I don't know, what are you doing in the meantime? That's kind of how I read this question. What are you doing in the meantime between now and the end of time? And I don't know, I guess the way I see it is like, yeah, am I living life to the fullest? Am I making the most of the present? You know, and yeah, I think, I guess, no, like, I like what you said. Well, how do you know what you're preparing for if you don't know what to prepare? And I guess, we only know what we know. I mean, I think there's things we do in our lifetime, like, yeah, maybe we save money for retirement, or we think about our kids' college, or like things like that, or like, like we talk about maybe having an emergency kit or some supplies. So I guess, yeah, making sure you have that stuff together. Whatever you know you can prepare for, you can prepare for. And what might I do this week to prepare for the end of time? I think reflect on, how am I using the present? Am I doing all I can do um now? And I think the earlier page talking about not getting too preoccupied in past or the future too much. That's all I have. I pass on to Sue.
I agree with what's been said, so I'll pass it on to Lauren.
All right, so how does, yeah, I had to really think about this one. How does waiting and being prepared fit together? And I think that they both give us a better chance of survival. That's what I came up with,
Yeah.
because, waiting, there's an element of patience involved, and that's a good trait to have patience. And being prepared is a way to stay alive. So that's my answer on number 10. What might I do this week to prepare for the end of time? Well, I'm going to say to prepare for the end of the world as I know it, to continue praying and studying God's word, to be present, stay aware, keep my mind and body fit, that sort of thing. So I pass it to you, Jan.
I agree with you. So I'm going to.
You don't have to pass it. I started.
That's true.
Okay, can we say the prayer together?
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
God,
I confess to you my preoccupation with the things of this world. It is hard to look for signs of your reign in the end of time. Keep me alert to your ways. Amen.
And the last word, this week, take an inventory of your preparation for the coming of Christ. And I'd like to do the dig deeper, the Malachi.
Yeah.
Malachi?
Malachi.
Malachi. I knew that was Malachi.
Dig deeper.
And it's chapter 4, verses 1 through 2a. Count on it. Day is coming, raging like a forest fire. All the arrogant people who do evil things will be burned up like stove wood, burned to a crisp. Nothing left but scorched earth and ash. A black day. But for you, sunrise. sun of righteousness will dawn on those who honor my name, healing radiating from its wings. You will be bursting with energy like frisky and frolicky, and you will tramp on the wicked. There'll be nothing but ashes under your feet on that day. God of the angels' armies say so.
Amen.
Amen.
Frisking and frolicking.
Okay,
And I
anybody want to
said
lead?
I would
Hello.
leave next week.
Oh, okay. Oh, we aren't gonna have it
I
next
don't know
week.
why,
Oh,
but
yes.
Yeah, we
that's
are.
true, yeah.
So
It is
It's
the
the following
following
week.
I want to change this for. I thought maybe this was the TV, so she have a web camera, but.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna change it back.
And 3:30 is our old meeting.
Yeah, there's an agenda forever. How many copies I got there?
Could be.
Cause I wasn't able to print because you would pick the wrong printer. And so nothing was, I had to turn things on and off. It was like,
Oh.
there's something still in the print. I just don't want you to touch something.
Oh, they're fine.
Fine.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
they're living their
Oh,
best life.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Cause I don't know how they use this on Sunday.